$60,000. That is what the contractor quoted Daniel Miller to build a 30 by 40-foot barn on his property outside Mount Hope, Ohio. $60,000, 10 weeks, 2 crews, a permit office, a project manager, a foreman with a clipboard, a generator, a forklift, and a pickup truck full of subcontractors who would be standing around half the time getting paid hourly anyway. Daniel did not call the contractor back. He called his neighbor. The next Saturday before sunrise, 300 people showed up at his property. They brought their own tools, they brought their own food, they brought their wives, who started cooking before the first hammer swung. No foreman, no project manager, no subcontractors, no permits to argue about. By the time the sun went down on that single Saturday, the barn stood. Frame, walls, roof, doors, windows, functional that night. Total cash cost, roughly $4,000 in lumber and a hot meal for 300 people. Total time, 12 hours. Total people paid $0. The American construction industry, which is worth somewhere north of $800 billion a year, has spent 80 years convincing you that what Daniel did is impossible. They will tell you it is illegal. They will tell you it violates code. They will tell you the only reason it works for the Amish is because they have some secret technique passed down for centuries. They will tell you anything except the one thing that is actually true, which is that you used to be able to do this. Your great-grandfather did do this, and somewhere between 1945 and today, the entire country quietly forgot how. I am going to walk you through the 5 things most people guess when they see a barn raising for the first time, the things they think the Amish must be doing differently to pull it off, and I am going to tell you the honest truth about every single one. Then I am going to show you the one thing they are actually doing, the part nobody on YouTube has ever explained correctly, and why no amount of money you spend will ever buy it back for you unless you do one specific thing first. Stay with me. Here is the first thing people guess. They are using some lost ancient technique. They are not. The Amish use the same basic post and beam framing that European carpenters have used for about 1,000 years. The joints are pegged with wooden dowels instead of nailed. The frame is laid out on the ground and lifted up by hand instead of cranes. That is the only real difference. The technique has not been lost. It is in every framing manual at every community college in the country. You can buy the books on Amazon for $20. The technique is not the secret. Here is the second thing people guess. The lumber must be prefabricated. The lumber is pre-cut. There is a difference. A few days before the raising, the community's senior carpenter walks the site, measures the foundation, and calculates exactly how many beams, posts, rafters, and joists the barn will need. He marks the cuts on a piece of paper. A small group of men, maybe 4 or 5, spend the next 2 or 3 days cutting every piece to its exact length and labeling it. Every beam knows where it is going before the day begins. Every rafter has a number on it. The pre-cutting is the difference between a Saturday and a 6-week build. It is also the part most modern builders forget exists, because they're too busy trying to do everything at the job site with the entire crew standing around watching one guy measure. The pre-cutting is real. It is not a secret. Any well-organized framing crew in America could do this today, and most of them do not, because the modern industry runs on billable hours, not on efficiency. Here is the third thing people guess. They are skilled craftsmen. Some of them are. Most of them are not. The senior carpenter who designs the frame is a skilled craftsman. The 4 or 5 men who do the cutting are skilled craftsmen. The rest of the 300 people on that site are farmers, school teachers, dairy hands, and teenage boys. They are not professional builders. They have just been to a lot of barn raisings. By the time an Amish man is 40 years old, he has probably been to 30 or 40 of these. He knows where his hands go before anybody tells him. He knows when to grab the other end of a beam. He knows when to step back and let someone else through. That is not craftsmanship. That is repetition. Repetition is something every American used to have. Your grandfather knew how to do 20 practical things because he had done them with his neighbors 100 times. You do not because somewhere along the way, doing things with your neighbors became something Americans stopped. Here is the fourth thing people guess. Modern building codes prevent this. This is where the construction industry has done its best work. Because in most rural townships across Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana, a barn raised on private agricultural land does not require a permit, does not require an inspection, and does not need to meet residential code. The Amish are not exempt from anything. They are just operating in a category of construction that you are also legally allowed to operate in on your own agricultural land today. The codes that block you from building a habitable house do not block you from building a barn. The construction industry will quietly let you believe otherwise because every owner-built barn is a contractor who did not get a phone call. I am not telling you to ignore codes. I am telling you to find out what the codes actually say in your county. You will be surprised. The Amish are not getting away with anything. They are using a perfectly legal pathway that most Americans do not know exists. Here is the fifth one, and this is the one I will not let you walk away from this video believing. The fifth thing people guess is that you need power tools to do this fast. You do not. The Amish use hand tools partially because of their faith and partially because hand tools are quieter, and quiet is the entire game. On a power tool job site, nobody can hear anybody else. The foreman has to scream over the saws. Workers communicate by hand signals. Half the day is people waiting for someone else to turn off a tool so they can ask a question. On a hand tool job site with 300 people working simultaneously, a man on the south wall can shout an instruction to a man on the north wall, and the entire crew adjusts in real time without breaking rhythm. The silence is what makes the coordination possible. Power tools are not a productivity gain. They are a coordination loss most modern crews have never noticed because they have never worked without them. So that is the 5. Lost techniques? No. Prefab lumber? Partially. Skilled craftsmen? Mostly no. Modern codes? No. Power tools? Actually counterproductive at scale. So what is the real answer? This is where the video earns its keep. The real answer is the part nobody on YouTube has ever explained correctly. The reason 300 Amish men can build a barn in 12 hours and you cannot build one with your own family in 6 weeks is not technique. It is not tools. It is not codes. It is not skill. It is one specific thing the Amish have that the rest of America gave up sometime around 1950. They have neighbors who show up, not neighbors in the modern American sense, not the people who live in the houses on either side of you whose names you do not know, not the Facebook group from the cul-de-sac. The Amish have 150 extended family-level connections within walking distance, built over 20 or 30 or 50 years of showing up at each other's barn raisings, weddings, funerals, harvests, and church Sundays. They have what sociologists call thick community, and what the Amish themselves call Gelassenheit, which translates roughly as yielding to the community. That word is the entire secret. Gelassenheit means your needs come second to the needs of the community, and the community's needs come second to yours, and everyone shows up when somebody loses a barn to a fire because somebody's going to lose a barn to a fire eventually, and you are going to need 300 people too. It is an insurance policy that costs no money and pays out in lumber and labor. The American construction industry has spent 80 years monetizing the absence of this. Every time you write a check to a contractor for 6 weeks of labor on a barn that should have taken a day, you are paying the price of not having those 300 neighbors. Every time you call an electrician to do a thing you could have done with one neighbor who happens to know wiring, you are paying the price of not having that neighbor. Every time you hire movers, painters, fencing crews, deck builders, you are paying the price of a community that does not exist around you. The contractor is not stealing from you. The contractor is filling the hole where your community used to be. And the bill is whatever the contractor wants it to be because the community is gone and you have no other option. The Amish have not lost this. They never let it go. They built their entire society around making sure nobody in the community ever has to call a contractor for a barn, because there will always be 300 people available next Saturday. Now here is the honest part, the part I will not let you walk away from this video without hearing. You cannot replicate this by yourself. You cannot replicate it by paying people. You cannot replicate it by hiring out. The barn raising is the visible part of an invisible system that took 2 centuries to build. The 300 people on the property are the tip of a relationship pyramid that runs through every barn raising, every wedding, every funeral, every Sunday church service, every shared harvest, every loaned mule, every covered casserole brought to the family whose grandmother just died. You cannot build that in a year. You can build it in a decade if you are very lucky and very intentional. So, what do you actually do with this video? You start small, you meet your actual physical neighbors, not in a Facebook group, in person, walking up to their door, bringing a pie, asking if they need help with anything this weekend. The first time it will feel weird because America has spent 80 years training you to believe that walking up to a neighbor's door is intrusive. It is not. It is the most normal thing humans have done for 10,000 years, and it has only become weird in the last 60. You start showing up. When they have something heavy to move, when they have a tree down, when they have a roof leak, when they have a kid in the hospital, you do not ask for anything in return. Not the first time, not the 10th time. You just show up. 6 months in, when something happens to you, they will show up. In 10 years, if you have done this with 30 or 40 people consistently, you will not need a contractor for anything that is not specialized to the point of needing a licensed professional. In 20 years, you will have what the Amish have. The barn raising will not be a foreign curiosity. It will be a Saturday on your calendar. This is not a hack. This is not a tip. This is not a frugal living technique. This is the actual thing the construction industry is hiding from you. The $800 billion Americans spend every year on residential construction is the price of not having neighbors. Reduce the bill by reducing the absence. There is no other way. The Amish are not richer than the rest of America because they reject technology. They are wealthier in this specific way because they understood 300 years ago that the most expensive thing in the world is being alone. They built a society around not being alone. The construction industry is just one of the ways the rest of us pay for the loneliness we did not even know was costing us money. This week, if you want to take one step toward what the Amish have, do this. Walk to the house of the neighbor closest to you, knock on the door, introduce yourself, ask if there is anything they need help with this weekend. Do it once, see what happens. Tell me in the comments, where do you live? And have you ever met your neighbors? Are there still places in America where this kind of community exists? I want to know what I am working with. Some of you live in suburbs where this is going to be hard. Some of you live in rural Pennsylvania where the Amish are literally next door. The honest answers tell me what to write about next. The next video I am putting together is about what happens at the end of the barn raising, after the sun goes down and the wagons leave. The Amish have a single ritual they do that night that is the actual cement of the entire community, and it costs less than $10 per family. The construction industry has no equivalent. There is a reason these communities outlast every modern subdivision in the country, and the reason is in a quiet hour that follows every project. I will see you there. The hammers stop, the sun goes down, the barn stands, and the family that lost everything last week is not alone tonight.